how an event is priced, produced, and made memorable.
दुनिया से कुछ चाहिए है, उसमें किसी ने यूएस से फ्लाई करना है, उसमें मिशेलिन स्टार शेफ आना है, उसमें किसी लाइट्स डायरेक्टर ने आना है, और इन शॉर्ट whatever is in the wish list of a client, we do that. A pickup truck has a different meaning in the western market. आपका कारपेंटर और आपका लेबर क्राउड और जो लोगों ने ज़्यादा लंबा ट्रैवल करना होता है. In the Pakistan market, it's a premium category. So we're not gonna sell our clients moons and stars knowing that it might not be practically possible for any reason. So that's where we come up with ideation. So we have an in-house strategy and ideation team. We try to give them enough reasoning to buy our ideas. For example, if we have an audience which is there just to enjoy the event. Let's say you're doing a sales conference or you're doing an event in a very small town or a very small city. Obviously, we will not be spending too much on the creatives of that event because his audience की demand different है.
An event is planned in months. It takes hours for it to get over, but it takes a lifetime for it to be remembered. Today on Connected Currents by Brandsynario, I am joined by Hasan Daudpota, a very good friend of mine and the CEO of Keys Production. Hasan, it's a pleasure to have you here, and I will talk to you about how an event is priced, produced, and made memorable.
Thank you for
Welcome.
having me. Lovely studio.
Thank you.
Very
Thank you.
cozy, I would say.
Aja Hassan, before I start on with my trail of questions for you, I want the people and my listeners to actually know what exactly you do at Keys Production.
At Keys Production, we do a lot of experiential work. We started off as a hardcore events agency, but now we get into some other areas of services as well. For example, we do PR management, we do a lot of content and design for a lot of clients. But our job is to design a project from point A and get it done till point Z. So basically, we start off from designing and planning an event, and then it goes on till the detailing of the whole project. उसमें दुनिया से कुछ चाहिए है, उसमें किसी ने यूएस से फ्लाई करना है, उसमें मिशेलिन स्टार शेफ आना है, उसमें किसी लाइट्स डायरेक्टर ने आना है, we need food from a certain place, XYZ, whatever is the requirement, or in short, whatever is in the wish list of a client, we do that.
That's interesting, Hassan. But tell me, whenever we hear the word events, we feel that it's very glamorous, right? But obviously, there are negotiations involved, there are budgets involved, and there's a lot of other things that go into it. How do you balance creativity and commercial reality, especially in a market like Pakistan?
I think this question can have multiple answer, but I think you need to find the balance equation. So, for example, we sometimes do very low budgeted events for some of our very important clients, and sometimes we do super high end events for for our first time clients as well. So, I think we need to draw an equation. We need to find the right balance again between the creativity, also the practicality as well. For example, we follow one simple rule at our office that under promise and over deliver. So we're not going to sell our clients moons and stars knowing that it might not be practically possible for any
Yeah.
reason. So we will always make sure that we promise what we can deliver easily, or we can do even more than that. I think there can never be a fixed equation. It depends on the nature of the event as well. For example, we always calculate the percentages of areas. There are some clients that tell us that this event is happening so we can have a lot of content for our social medias. So yes, we're gonna design everything so it looks amazing on the camera. We might compromise a few things for naked eyes, but we will make sure that when it goes to their YouTube and Instagram, it should look larger than life. So again, we're gonna do the art and the decor and the lights accordingly. So I think there always you can say some balances that you need to find. Can never be any fixed equation around it. You just have to make the right call at the right time.
But I wanted to ask you that there are you do a lot of events that sponsors are involved in, and these are big name sponsors with how do you then create that event that it just does not look extremely branded, but it has some value to it as well? Because I'm sure that every sponsor that comes to you asks you for the greatest visibility, probably the top spots.
Yes.
And how do you convince them, and especially in the context where there are two or three large sponsors involved? How do you manage that?
I think again I would come down to the same answer that it depends on the situation. For example, we mostly do corporate events, so most of our events already have some finances as well. This situation comes in when we do events for group companies. So let's say we're doing an event for a company which has 8 or 10 brands under that company, and now we have to treat them equally as well, because
Yeah.
we work with in those individual brands separately as well at different times. So we have to make sure that, I think it comes down to the situation. Sometimes we ask the group client that, is there any percentage that you guys have offered them? For example, if there's one client or one brand, one sponsor that has given 50% of the total money to that event, so obviously their percentage would also be decided as per the percentage of money they have given. That is one way of doing that. Sometimes some brands are so larger than life that it's so difficult to put them under somebody else's brand's limelight, so you also have to make a call according to that. But I think mostly at corporate events, most of the times we do have branding guidelines from our clients, from different brands, mostly the international brands that are working in Pakistan. They have like very strict guidelines, and I think most of our national clients also, they now have different kind of guidelines. Also, I would say the norms are changing. A lot of clients, especially where you have young brand teams sitting, or people with diversity, I would say that there are different minds involved in that brand. So I think they're not following that run of the mill formula these days. It's been some time that we saw any client fighting with us over the percentage of branding, rather than they look for different kind of ROIs now. They talk more about engagement.
Yes.
They talk more about attendee journeys. That's a new thing, like how many people we are engaging with. So for example, there are 4 brands involved, and all 4 of them are doing different kind of activities. So a client would be interested more in how many trials we generated, how many people we were able to attract, how many people we interacted with, how many leads we're getting out of that space. So the parameters are also changing at time. But I think it depends on the situation. If there are external partners not related to each other, then I think the best bet is to give them equal spaces. That it keeps everybody safe and happy. And sometimes for example, we do events for different bodies, and they're the ones who are actually dealing with sponsors, so we keep them at the front. Normally what we do is we give them some options, that these are the possible options that we can work with, and then these are the ones who get the approvals done from those sponsors. So that headache doesn't come to us all the time, very rarely, I would say. And even if it does, my design head deals with it. I take a back step.
I know that. I know that. Hassan, how long have you been curating events?
I started off when I was a student. I was doing events at my university as well. So that's how the passion got alive. And then I think in total it would be 13 years if I would be exact. Yes.
Lovely. So Hassan, tell me, and this is something that I wanted to ask you. Now you must be getting clients who come up to you and say that this is what I want to do. Probably my 10-year anniversary or something like that of the brand. You suggest what we should do, right? So when you're faced with a situation like that, how do you end up designing and curating an event?
Uh, Great question. I think we look into multiple directions. So we get clients who have budget or have money, and they have no idea what needs to be done. So they, even the conversation start with kuch karna hai yaar. So then the rest of the things we get done. Uh, Also, there are situations where a client has a certain idea, or they have an end result in mind, that, oh, we want something like this to get done. How can we do this? So that's where we come up with ideation. So we have an in-house strategy and ideation team. I think that's the biggest department that we have, and these are the people who make things happen for us at the very initial period. So we start with a lot of research, not only around that client but also around the industry as well. So for example, if it's a food client, if it's has something to do with the food industry, our research would be very different. Let's say these days we're working with a lot of automobile clients in Pakistan, so we do different kind of research. Let's say we're working with a client who's Japanese at the back end, there's one who's Korean at the back end, there's one who's German at the back end. So like we look for different kind of inspiration,
Yeah.
either from their company's history, from their, you can say, their achievements or mileages and XYZ. Sometimes we also look into, for example, we're doing an event for a telecom company, and they were looking to do something really really different, and they needed some extreme international standard detailing around that event. So one of our strategy team member came up with the idea that, how about let's connect it with the history of communication from let's say the Gandhara civilization and the Indus Valley civilization, going all the way back to the great Alexander, that how communication used to get done. And
Hmm.
while we were doing that research, we came up with some amazing patterns that we never looked before. And those patterns were the mode of communication in that time.
Okay.
So what we did, we used those patterns and create some amazing designs out of it, and those patterns are everywhere. And then we also took inspiration from the kind of costumes, entertainment, and food used to be done at that time. So I think it just like you just need to keep looking till you find the right spot,
Hmm.
till you feel very very confident that, again, this also happened, like sometimes you go to clients with an amazing idea and a client goes like, oh sorry, but we don't like it, or this doesn't relate to us. So sometimes it's a hit and miss as well, but majority of the time it works. What we basically do is we try to give them enough reasoning to
Hmm.
buy our ideas. So if I'm selling this table to a client of mine, so I'm not just going to go with the design of this table, I'm just going to go with a lot of history, that why am I going to have some black stripes in it, or why it is going to be more horizontal and not vertical. Then they have certain amount of expectations, like that's some brands yearly budget that they're spending on a 2-hour event. So they have certain expectations around it. So I think we look for those inspirations. Sometimes that inspiration comes in from a content that we have been watching together, or sometimes it comes in from our surroundings. It can come from anywhere. And we just look for what we how we normally start the process. Whenever we get a brief, we do one session that what not need to be done at this event. That's the first session we always have. And then we make a list of it and we go like, this is something we would never go to our client with, that we should not sound anywhere similar to any other agency or any of our competitor, that oh their ideas are same. So
Hmm.
even if it's a project that's not going to come to us based on any reason, we still want to make sure that the client remembers us for that pitch. And that happens with us many a times. We lose a project, that client calls us in the future and
Hmm.
tells us that, oh, we have a project in mind that we want to work with you. So I think they're in short, the various sources of inspiration and ideation where we get from, and we work on them accordingly. And the challenge comes in when you're working with a client for 3 years, 4 years, 5 years. So आजकल हमें बहुत ज़्यादा pressure feel होता है, because now we have clients who are working with us for 6 years, 8 years, some 9 and 10 years old client as well. Now we have no one but to beat ourselves
Yeah.
during all those pitches and presentation. But I think so far जो भी आमद हो रही है वो बहुत अच्छी हो रही है to us and my team, and so far it's working for us, alhamdulillah.
No, Hassan, I have to vouch कि आमद बहुत अच्छी हो रही है because I have worked with you, like I mentioned earlier, also multiple times, and I think one thing that really stands out is the fact that whenever you've come, we've worked together multiple times, but every time you've come up to me as a brand, you have a set of potential questions that I might ask you. So बहुत दफ़ा ये होता है कि I'm about to ask you a question, and while you're giving that brief, those questions get answered. So that clearly tells me that you have researched my brand, and you've also researched that it has to be something different.
True.
Because it's very easy to tell, and I can completely relate to you, because in my experience with my agency thinkers, it's the same. Because हम जब भी किसी client को pitch करते हैं और बहुत solid idea लेके जाते हैं, कभी कभी ऐसा होता है कि आपको उनका बॉडी का
Yes.
फेशियल एक्सप्रेशंस एंड बॉडी लैंग्वेज ये बताती है कि it's completely out of whack. But tell me, in a market that is as competitive as Pakistan, which has recently just opened up to a lot of automobile brands. I mean,
Right.
I think in the last 6 to 8 months, we've seen an influx of brands that
Yes.
have come in, and everybody wants to be different, and everybody wants to do something new. How do you then give them that experience? I mean, how do you differentiate, at the same time make sure that you get all those brands, but you don't copy? How does that work out?
I think one, I would like to give you a pre-answer before I come to the actual answer. पाकिस्तान में एक सबसे इंटरेस्टिंग चीज़ ये है कि हमारे यहाँ ट्रेंड्स ट्रांजिट नहीं होते, जंप होते हैं. So for example, if the West was doing something for 25 years, doesn't mean कि in this part of the world वही ट्रेंड 25 साल चलेगा. हो सकता है कि वो हमारे यहाँ 5 महीने भी ना चले. For example, there are a lot of EVs coming out in the Pakistani market. I was just doing an not a research, but I was just observing something while standing at one of our clients' dealership store, where we were doing the delivery of those cars. तो एक कार ओनर से मैंने पूछा कि ये आपकी कौन सी गाड़ी है, एज इन लाइक दिस योर थर्ड कार, फोर्थ कार, आप कौन सी भी दवा. सो आई वॉज लुकिंग फॉर समवन जिसकी ये पहली गाड़ी है, एंड आई फाउंड समवन कि जो ज़िंदगी में खुद से पहली दफ़ा गाड़ी ख़रीद रहा है, एंड दैट्स एन ईवी. सो व्हेन आई वेंट बैक इनटू माय ओन मेमोरीज, आई वाज लाइक कि जब मैं इस एज में था, तो उस वक्त घर में कोई पुरानी खटारा मेहरान या खैबर भी चलाने को मिलती थी. दैट वाज अ बिग थिंग. एंड नाउ इट टेल्स यू द शिफ्ट दैट इज़ कमिंग इन टू द मार्केट के नाउ आपके पास फर्स्ट कार यूज़र्स इलेक्ट्रिक व्हीकल वाले आ रहे हैं. It is an example that how the market is shifting, how future would be further after 10 years. And let me tell you something, whatever brands you see right now, there are more, there are enough more which are coming to the Pakistani market.
Yes.
Right now, there are 100 Chinese brands
Mm.
doing really well in China. We have only seen some of them. And बहुत ज़्यादा लाइन लगेगी फ्यूचर में, मार्केट डिस्टर्ब भी होगा. सो गॉन आर द टाइम्स वेयर people were only looking for the German made cars or the US made car or the Japanese made car. The shift has changed. It's same as your appliances have changed. So gone are the times के आप टीवी खरीद रहे हैं ऐसे कि ये 25 साल चलाना है. No, you're buying a TV that you already have it in your head कि ये 4 से 5 साल भी चल गया,
Mm.
तो ये बहुत मेरे लिए अच्छा ROI निकाल के जा रहा है. सो आई थिंक व्हाट वी डू इज समटाइम्स वी लुक इनटू द रिवर्स ट्रेंड्स एज वेल. अभी जितने इंटरनेशनल ब्रांड्स आ रहे हैं उसमें हमारे लिए ईजी हो जाता है कि वी हैव अदर मार्केट्स टू स्टडी. सो फॉर एग्जांपल वी have been working very closely with BYD these days from last 1.5 year. They're existing in more than 70 markets around the world. So we look for some similarities. Let's say we saw that what these guys have done in Nepal or what these guys have done in Indonesia, as in like हम different demographic angles से और regional angles से study कर रहे थे. Or let's say what these guys have done in Mexico, or let's say even in Australia and other European markets as well. So we have a lot of case studies to look at. So we know that what idea is working and what idea is not working. And then obviously we have been putting our own tadka in it, the Pakistani tadka. के हम अपनी, for example, we're launching a truck, a pickup truck. A pickup truck has a different meaning in the Western market. आपका कारपेंटर और आपका लेबर क्राउड और जो लोगों ने ज़्यादा लंबा ट्रैवल करना होता है, इन द पाकिस्तान मार्केट इट्स अ प्रीमियम कैटेगरी. आपके अमीर तरीन लोग उसको ख़रीद रहे हैं. सो इट्स द सेम प्रोडक्ट जिसकी पोजिशनिंग, सोशल पोजिशनिंग और एक्सेप्टेंस ज़मीन आसमान का फ़र्क है इन टू डिफरेंट मार्केट. सो ऑब्वियसली वी कैन नॉट कॉपी पेस्ट द एग्जैक्ट सेम थिंग. So we have to make our event look very, very premium over here in this market. So again, most of the brands are already existing in other markets. So we do some research around them. And obviously, we have a lot of ways to make sure our event looks different. It also has to do a lot with the audience. So whenever we are planning an event, we also study the audience. Okay, for example, if it's an extremely literate audience, we will dig way deep into the detailing of that event. Then we will make sure कि वो एक नैपकिन तो क्या, वो फॉर्क पे पैटर्न कौन सा है वो भी अप्रूव होगा इंटरनली, और उसके ऊपर भी एक कोई ना कोई चॉइसेस निकल के आएंगी, बिकॉज there are people sitting at that event who are noticing everything. So we have to be very careful with that. Same as, for example, if we have an audience which is there just to enjoy the event. Let's say you're doing a sales conference, or you're doing an event in a very small town or a very small city. Obviously we will not be spending too much on the creatives of that event, because his audience की demand different है. We would rather try and bring a very big singer or a big celebrity कि लोगों को एक ऐसी शाम मिले enjoy करने को जो वो काफ़ी टाइम तक ना भूलें. उनको इस चीज़ से नहीं फ़र्क पड़ता कि SMD पे ग्राफिक्स क्या चल रहे थे या मार्की जो है एयर कंडीशन थी या नहीं थी, बिकॉज उनकी प्रेफरेंस डिफरेंट है. सो वी लुक इनटू द क्राउड, वी लुक इनटू द ब्रांड, वी लुक एट देयर ओन आइडियोलॉजी. It has a lot to do. There are some clients which have no guidelines. There are some clients which follow some very strict global guidelines. So we get a set of tools on which we play around and then design the event accordingly. And again, we do multiple rounds. For example, if you're not satisfied internally, we would never go to a client with a bad pitch. We would rather either tell them the truth or buy more time, or give them a lame excuse so we can buy a little more time with them as well. Or we just tell them that we're not comfortable bringing something to you. And most of our clients support us in that regard as well. कि okay if we need more time or
I
something.
think you've done this to me once as well. You
I think
where you were
I think
actually
I'm the bad cop there.
you actually told me that you know what I am what you're expecting is not what we've gotten to at this point. So we can still bring it and show it to you, but if you would give us a little bit more time, we'll be more
It's
comfortable.
better late
And
than
I
sorry.
think
Yeah.
yeah, and I think most of your clients would be okay with that because obviously we most of us have worked with you.
I think it's same as if you go to your dress designer, you
Yes.
have to go to a very important event, and if your designer says that he or she needs 2 more days, so
Hmm.
you would rather give him 2 or 3 days. Okay, मेरा outfit खराब नहीं होना चाहिए. Take me
बट
two
उसमें
more
एक और
days.
चीज़ है असन, वो डेस्क डिज़ाइनर को ना आप पहले से टाइम आगे का बताते हैं, विच इज़ माई नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन टू यू, डू पीपल एक्चुअली लाई टू
Oh
यू अबाउट द
yes,
डेट्स ऑफ द
oh
इवेंट
yes,
सेइंग दैट इट्स देयर?
100%. Maybe not for the date of the events because there are a lot of bookings involved.
हम्म.
But yes, हमें pitching time में होता है कि clients भी हमारे obviously जो clients हमें बहुत closely जानते हैं, तो उनको पता है कि अगर हमने 10 दिन ही लेने हैं तो वो हमें बोलते हैं आपके पास 4 दिन है, ताकि वो हमें 10 दिन से 6 पे आके लॉक करवाएं कि we'll start with 10 or 8 or 6. But again, I think it also depends on how you do the communication, how you're winning that client from that very first meeting. That is also important. अगर आपकी conversations अच्छी हुई हैं, ideations अच्छी हुई हैं, you had a very healthy discussion with your client, chances are that client, it also happens that client says hello 2 दिन है, 1 घंटा भी ऊपर नहीं मिलेगा, देन फिर हम ऑफिस में बैठ के सोते भी हैं 24 घंटे, वहीं बिस्तर लगा देते हैं, एंड देन देर इज़ नो दिन रात का पता बिकॉज we have a great relationship with that client. And also whatever events we do, we are part of their marketing campaigns. We're a big part of their marketing campaigns, so there are a lot of big stakes involved. लाइक हमारे अच्छे काम से सेल्स पे एक पॉजिटिव इम्पैक्ट आ सकता है, हमारे बुरे काम से लोग फायर भी हो सकते हैं. सो वी हैव अ बिग रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी एज वेल कि कि अगर हम एक ऐसा प्रोजेक्ट कर रहे हैं जिसकी एक बहुत बड़ी बिलिंग है और उसके अराउंड एक बहुत बड़ी सेल्स प्रोजेक्ट की गई है, वी कैन नॉट टेक रिस्क इन दैट. Then we have to make sure we are on our toes and make things happen.
Absolutely. Hassan, you mentioned different markets, but obviously in the context of this market, when I talk about the events management industry of Pakistan, what do you think it's limited by? Is it limited by money, or is it limited by a mindset, or is it actually limited by the management of those people who actually come to you for those events?
I think we're still not there to be called an event industry. हम एक industry की position में नहीं आए. It's an area which is doing well. For example, मैं आपको एक बड़ी interesting example देता हूँ. Events industry globally is much bigger than the oil industry. So people think that oil has money, but no, event industry around the world has surpassed that few years ago. In fact, maybe longer than that. किसी भी सर्विस को इंडस्ट्री बनने के लिए एक फुल सर्किट कंप्लीट होना बहुत ज़रूरी है. फॉर एग्जांपल हम बात करते हैं कि बॉलीवुड में रोज़ 10 मूवी रिलीज़ हो रही है, पाकिस्तान में 5 साल में भी एक मूवी नहीं बनती. वहाँ इसलिए ज़्यादा मूवीज़ बन रही है बिकॉज इफ़ आई एम अ प्रोड्यूसर और ए डायरेक्टर एंड आई एम मेकिंग अ मूवी, वहाँ पे इतने स्क्रीन्स हैं, मे बी 10 लाख से भी ज़्यादा, कि मेरी मूवी अगर 2 शोज़ भी कर गई तो मेरे पैसे रिटर्न हो रहे हैं. पाकिस्तान में मैं उतनी ही बजट की मूवी बनाऊँ तो वो 2 महीने लगी रहेगी तो भी शायद जाके ब्रेक इवन करे. सो इट्स अ डिफरेंस ऑफ इंडस्ट्री इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर. सेम इज़ अ थिंग विद इवेंट्स दैट it never was structured in Pakistan, in a country like Pakistan. We still go through a lot of problems when we are trying to do something larger than life or doing something amazing, but we get limited by our clients sometimes as well. And they also have their own reasons to do
I'm
so
sure.
as well. I think it will take its due time to become an industry. For example, your weddings have changed. What weddings we used to see 20 years ago, 15 years ago, that has changed. The birthdays have changed. The social media has taken over. Look and feel is more important than so many other factors. Now we look at the food the same way as well. So I can give you like so many food examples as well, and this happens in a lot of other industry. I think it will only happen with time, when people will realize that it's same as you're a brand, let's say, or I'm a brand and I'm selling a product for a certain price, at a certain volume. And if somebody comes and proves it to me कि अगर आप ये करेंगे तो ये जो आप 500 प्रोडक्ट भेज रहे हैं कल को आप 5 लाख प्रोडक्ट बेच सकते हैं। वो चीज़ मुझे अभी कोई समझाने वाला नहीं है।
Hmm.
तो इस वक्त पाकिस्तान के अंदर ऐसे बहुत सारे बिजनेसेस हैं which have crazy potential to become national giants, and they have amazing potential to become internationally bigger as well. It's just that they have not understood the complete cycle of it. तो वो एक फलाना प्रोडक्ट जो 60 साल से पाकिस्तान में बिक रहा है,
Hmm.
but just that के they haven't seen the bigger picture of their own business. They don't know about. Once they know, I'm sure the way they do activation and events would change.
Hmm.
They will be operating on the same level as we treat the MNCs, just because they haven't seen that picture yet. So they're a bit unaware of that. It is, for example, now we take our inspirations from our fellow countries around as well. Let's take an example of Dubai.
Hmm.
Dubai makes a lot of money through events. Now, Riyadh in Saudi Arabia or other cities are kind of like following the same model. For example, let's say they're doing a tech exhibition or a food exhibition or something that's bringing in a lot of money. We have seen now some of Pakistani authorities taking it a bit serious, but if you need to target a certain amount of people or if you need to attract certain amount of money, then things need to go on great standards. दुबई में मैं आपको एग्जांपल कोट कर रहा था that a big chunk of their revenue, of the overall revenue that they get, events has a very big part in that. And globally what is happening, that events is correlated with some industries as well. So
Hmm.
let's say we don't talk a lot about retreats in Pakistan. It's getting into the culture now, because let's say most of our events are happening in bigger cities. Our infrastructure doesn't allow us. For example, if I want to do a size of event which is as big as we do in Karachi or Lahore or let's say Islamabad, it's logistically very difficult because we don't have the big venues. We have हमारे पास venues के problems बड़े शहरों में आ रहे होते, तो हम छोटे शहरों की क्या ही बात करें. So I think with time, as the industry grows, just like real estate का एक boom है, automobile का एक boom है. So similarly, let's say pharma companies are doing pretty well in Pakistan. The hospitality industry is also
Yeah.
growing up with time. So event industry has a lot to do with what's happening in your entertainment industry, in your fashion industry, in your hospitality industry, or in your food industry, or in your, let's say, other related industry. So with time, it's only going to grow. I feel like very, I hope so, and I strongly believe as well that we're in the right direction.
Yeah.
People talk a lot of bad things about Pakistani market, but I see a lot of positives as well at the same time. Set of problems are always there. I've never
Yeah.
seen any person in the world, चाहे वो किसी भी nationality का हो, कि वो बोले कि ओ हाँ मेरा मुल्क सबसे अच्छा है. So कहीं tax के problems हैं, कहीं
Hmm.
safety के problems हैं, कहीं political problems हैं. But I think regardless of that, we're doing pretty well, and I think the projections seem very bright and positive for the future as well.
No, no, they absolutely do, and you're very right, because I think we're in the right direction, because the level of exposure now that everybody has, and that comparison that we make of local events to an international event,
Yeah.
I'm sure brands must have done
I
it with
want,
you as
sorry
well.
to cut you, but I just want to quote a couple of examples. So let's say uh, Qatar hosted a World Cup in 2022. Their numbers on tourism have increased more than maybe 1,000 percentage or
Yes,
something.
yes.
You know, there are more and more people coming to that country because everybody who came to attend that event. So let's take that FIFA World Cup as an event. It's same as when any F1 happens in any certain city. So उस weekend के ऊपर वहाँ सब कुछ महंगा हो जाता है. So you won't find a decent hotel
Hmm.
room or
Hmm.
anything. Recently it happens with me, like I'm in Barca and I had no idea that F1 is happening, and I always book my hotels at the very last moment, especially when I'm traveling solo. And a hotel which normally costs you $100 a night, it was costing you around 600 or eight
Hmm.
hundred
Hmm.
dollars a night,
Hmm.
just because the whole world is out there for that
Yeah.
F1. So event industry or any particular event or a large scale event impacts on a lot of related industries as well, and that's where the money comes in. So अभी पाकिस्तान में आहिस्ते आहिस्ते हो रहा है. Let's say जब हमारे पास 100 नए और होटल चेन्स आ जाएंगे और कुछ और नए हॉस्पिटैलिटी चेन्स
Hmm.
आएंगे, एंड देन सिमिलरली आपकी
Yeah.
अम्यूजमेंट उसके हिसाब से आएगी, आपकी एंटरटेनमेंट उसके हिसाब से आएगा, आपके फैशन और फूड ट्रेंड्स उस हिसाब से आएंगे. If you're hosting large scale event, then you also need international food chains, then you also need international fashion
You
chains,
need
and
an absolute
you need to
infrastructure to, yeah.
complete that circle.
Yeah.
So I think we're there in the right direction, but hopefully if not later, then very soon we will see big results as well in our own country, inshallah.
Yes, I hope so too. Hassan, what do you think? in your view, makes an event from good to memorable? What would be those key ingredients?
I think what we focus on, we have this saying in our office. Let's say if I'm doing an event for 500 people, 499 people had a great time.
Hmm.
One person did not like that event. We take that as a failure, that it's not a successful event. We can never ever measure the success of the event that, oh, majority of the people had fun and they loved it. Sometimes it happens that a client is sending us a thank you message after the event, and next day we're having a postmortem meeting and we're like, let's say, arguing with each other कि यार ये अच्छा नहीं था, वो अच्छा नहीं था, this could have been better, that could have been better, because we were not satisfied the way we executed that event. It doesn't matter कि वो client कितना खुश था या ना खुश था. We have to gauge it from our own tools as well. I think in order to make any event unforgettable, you need to be absolutely spot on that your attendees had a great journey
Hmm.
at that event. So it counts from the day they're get receiving that invite, from the time that when somebody is RSVPing with them, from the time when they're coming to your venue, and how is your valet driver smelling and what is he dressed up with. Every single detail counts. So when you, again, it comes down to the full circle of the event as well. Okay, if there are 20 components at that event, अगर आप सारे के सारे 20 perfectly execute करेंगे, only then your event is unforgettable. I'll also say that it's not ओनली अबाउट कि आपका लार्ज स्केल इवेंट ही अनफॉरगेटेबल है, आपका कोई बहुत छोटा सा इवेंट भी
Mhm.
अनफॉरगेटेबल हो सकता है, if whatever you planned, you have executed it rightly, if the results are coming in your way. So if the purpose of that event was to motivate that audience, and वो audience नारे लगाती हुई वहाँ से बाहर निकले, so it means that your event was successful. हमारे पास जितने अवेलेबल टूल्स हैं, हम फॉर एग्जांपल हम किसी इवेंट में एक इवेंट ऐप यूज़ कर रहे हैं, तो वी ऑल्सो वर्क ऑन द इंटरेस्ट मैप और द इंटरेस्ट हीट मैप, कि किस सेशन में लोगों ने सबसे ज़्यादा इंटरेस्ट लिया, या किस टाइम के ऊपर लोग सबसे ज़्यादा एक्टिव थे, या हु वाज द पर्सन जिसके साथ सबसे ज़्यादा लोगों ने इंटरेक्ट किया. इट ऑल्सो डिपेंड्स ऑन, लेट्स से, अटेंडेंस ऑफ द इवेंट. इफ इट्स अ हाउसफुल, for sure it's a successful event. If your people are sticking to it till the last element of the event, again then it tells you that your event was very engaging. Again, it depends. For example, हम कोई एक ऐसा प्रोजेक्ट कर रहे हैं जिसमें लाइव सेल्स इन्वॉल्व है, लेट्स से लाइव बुकिंग्स हो रही हैं. We did a car launch recently जिसमें the one component of the event was live sales as well, कि people were supposed to get their vehicle booked at that time. And what happened that we saw our client being very, very happy at the dinner time, and they told us that what they projected, they have
They've
crossed even
surpassed.
double of it. So they were really happy कि oh, we did something right, कि जो हम message देना चाह रहे थे audience को, वो उन्होंने बहुत perfectly grab किया. So we can never say as event managers, ये हमें लोगों से पता चलता है कि the kind of feedback we're getting on social media, or the kind of feedback that brand is getting on social media. हमारा, we're the people behind the camera. So let's say when we launch a big project, or we launch a big brand, या किसी product का launch है, या किसी brand का relaunch है, or it's an annual event, like it's a calendar event, let's say. So we don't promote ourselves around that, or there's no our name. Yes, the original word of mouth is there, but we gauge the intensity of that event with what kind of feedback it's getting. गालियाँ पड़ी हैं तो it means कुछ बुरा हुआ है. If people are loving it and putting it great comments around it and resharing it, and there's a talkability going on, then we see that, oh, it's a great event. So we have different tools. Sometimes it's manual feedback, sometimes it's through social media, sometimes we get to know from third parties as well, where let's say we get messages from our competitors congratulating us, that then it shows that, oh, it was a great project. So there are different tools and technologies that we go through to find out that if was an and I think एक चीज जो जिसको किसी तरीके से measure करने की जरूरत नहीं है is the expressions. सो अगर हम एक म्यूज़िक फेस्ट कर रहे हैं और इसमें लोग बहुत ज़्यादा खुश हैं, उनके एक्सप्रेशंस बहुत ज़्यादा हैप्पी हैं, देयर बॉडी लैंग्वेज इज़ रियली पॉजिटिव, इट जस्ट इंस्टेंटली शो यू दैट, ओ, इट्स अ ग्रेट इवेंट, पीपल आर लविंग इट. सो हम कभी कभी उससे भी गेज करते हैं कि लोग जब वापस जा रहे हैं उस इवेंट से तो कितने खुश हैं, कितना स्माइल कर रहे हैं, या व्हाट काइंड ऑफ बॉडी लैंग्वेज दे आर टेकिंग अवे, और how many people are saying thanks to us as well,
Yeah.
or to our staff. So yeah, that is also one way of gauging the unforgettableness of that event.
But one way that we gauge the unforgettableness is UGC, user generated content. Well, like you said, itna social media sabke haath mein, everybody is carrying a phone.
Yes.
If they are actually at the event and they've taken out their phone, if they're capturing something and they're tagging,
Yes.
and whether it's their friends or whatever, I think that's one very
Yes,
very
we can
key
say that.
metric
It is.
of a good and an
It is.
unforgettable.
Yeah. Sometimes we see like through the monitors के कोई एक important moment पे कितने लोगों के cameras निकले हुए हैं. That also tells us कि oh, it we're hitting the right spot.
No, no. But like staying on the subject of a good event, and you do a lot of experiential events, and there's a lot of technology involved, and there can sometimes be a technology failure as well.
Oh
I have
yes.
personally witnessed this with you, and I have to ask you this because we were both standing together, and there was not like a split second of a delay, and I was panicking, and you were standing right there, and you had a mic attached, and you were just talking to your team, and you were giving them instructions. So how do you? I mean, because at that point, I know that you're in constant touch with the technicians, and but sometimes that delay and that can go beyond, and even sometimes just 2 3 seconds seem to be a very long time. How do you manage that?
Okay, so how it goes, like there are different parameters around it. फॉर एग्जाम्पल हम एक क्लाइंट के साथ कॉस्ट लॉकिंग कर रहे हैं लेट्स से, और उसमें एक सर्टन अमाउंट का डिफरेंस आ रहा है. क्लाइंट सेइंग थे ओ डू नॉट यूज़ जनरेटर्स के बैकअप बिकॉज बैकअप की क्या ज़रूरत है. And we go like, oh, sometime we face this problem and now it's part of our normal exercise that we need to have some auto backup. So let's say when we do large scale events, so not only those events are being run by independent power supply, we do even backup of that, and we do the auto changeovers. Let's say okay, even if one generator goes down, the next one is gonna go on auto mode without anybody finding out. A lot of it has to do with your planning as well. Let's say sometimes our clients say कि ओ आपकी प्राइस बहुत ज़्यादा है और फलाने की प्राइस आपसे बहुत ज़्यादा कम है. So we tell our client that the kind of suppliers we're working with, they're reliable suppliers. We have to pay a premium to that. So it's same as like you're doing something very low budget, or you go to a very low budget brand and you go to very high end brand, there'll always be a difference on quality. So there are vendors, for example, the kind of suppliers we work with, or they take their work very seriously, or we have a set of SOP to get those things done. All the technical glitches are manageable. It's same as an airline or a pilot would never fly a plane if there is a slightest of technical issue in that, because that's a responsibility on that airline, on that staff, on the pilot and everybody. I think we need to go with the same mentality. One advantage that we have is we're technically very strong. So I come from, let's say, an engineering background, so technically we are the most sound agency in Pakistan when it comes to the technical side of events. Let's say we understand machines better, we understand softwares better, we have some trained staff members within our team as well. So हमें जिन areas के अंदर problems आती थी, for example, we have taken control over graphics and how we run the screen and how we do the mapping and how the whole immersive look and feel would be there at any large scale event. We have taken all those controls in house. So we're trying to make sure that even if our vendor misses out on something, so we have enough trained team members to take care of those things. And one more benefit that we have is we have two international partners. Let's say my partner sits in Dubai, and we work with a lot of international clients there. So we have trained a lot of our local staff here. So let's say हमने F&B के अंदर बहुत सारे लोगों को यहाँ बुला के trainings दिया है. हमने लाइट्स के अंदर, साउंड डिज़ाइन के अंदर, ग्राफिक्स के अंदर, सेट डिज़ाइन के अंदर, लेट्स से वी वर्क विद अ लॉट ऑफ आर्किटेक्ट्स and fine artists, art graduates. Okay, it's not just only, we don't rely on the design team that is sitting in our office. We even go beyond that as well. As I said, okay, if it's a very big billing, then we're gonna treat it as a big bill as well. So we're not gonna treat it in the same way जो हम एक उससे 10 गुना छोटे बजट के प्रोजेक्ट पे करते हैं, बिकॉज वी मेक श्योर दैट कि अगर स्टेक्स बहुत ज़्यादा हैं तो प्लानिंग भी अकॉर्डिंगली होनी चाहिए. इन शॉर्ट, I'm just gonna summarize this whole answer with one quote by Abraham Lincoln. Then he was asked that if you're giving 6 hours to chop a tree, what would you do? So he said that I'm going to spend 5 hours sharpening my axe.
Sharpening the axe.
So that is the key here.
Hmm.
Ke you need to have enough amount of planning. Again, as I said, technical चीज़ें जो हैं वो कोई rocket science नहीं है. Again, there's always an if involved.
Hmm.
That's always there. But आप at least इतना कर सकते हैं कि अपने risk को minimize कर लें.
Hmm.
And that is what we do. We make sure that our risk is minimized so that we are confident. हमें at least इतना पता है कि जितना हमारे control में था, जितना human control में था, we have done all of that. And even if something goes wrong, खुदा ना खास्ता,
Hmm.
then again we have some tools to overcome that.
Overcome.
Or we always have a reasoning कि जी कोई खुदा ना खास्ता ऐसी आंधी चली कि कुछ सब कुछ हवा में उड़ गया. Yes, that is out of our control. So we make sure that whatever is in human control, we measure that well before time and make sure कि हमें कोई lame excuse ना देना पड़े अपने client को. Even if it's an issue जो कि client खुद से understand करता है, then it's fine. But there should not be any excuse from our side. We just believe in perfection out there. And that's what we're getting paid for as well.
Hmm. Hasan, tell me, you just don't manage sound and lights and clients. You also manage a team. And you just told me that you have a partner in Dubai, and obviously you have a very big team here who manages everything. You tell me, how do you take care of that team in terms of tell me a little bit about the team, and also tell me what your leadership style is with that team, and how is a day to day um, you know event planning happening with the team.
Oh, I'm still learning that.
We are
मैं
all
अभी भी
learning that.
सीखने की कोशिश कर रहा हूँ. आई थिंक मैंने जैसे एक रीसेंट एक चेंज नोट किया कि लास्ट 2-3 years में रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटीज़ बहुत ज़्यादा बढ़ गई हैं. तो लेट्स से अगर हम पहले एक्स अमाउंट ऑफ बिजनेस को हैंडल कर रहे थे तो हम वाई भी नहीं, अब हम जी अमाउंट ऑफ बिजनेस को हैंडल कर रहे हैं. स्टेक्स बहुत ज़्यादा इन्वॉल्व हैं. बहुत ज़्यादा चीज़ों के ऊपर आपको नज़र रखना पड़ता है, मेक श्योर करना पड़ता है दैट बिकॉज let's say me as a CEO, as a founder, I make sure that the equation is always correct. And I try to tell my team that we should never lose a very big client over as a stupid mistake. ठीक है, हाँ कोई बहुत बड़ा भंड मारें जिसमें हम प्राउड फील करें तो दैट्स अनदर थिंग. बट किसी स्टूपिड चीज़ के पीछे वो क्लाइंट मिस नहीं होना चाहिए जो आपको साल में 200 400 या 500 मिलियन का बिजनेस दे रहा है. We should never lose that client. So yes, we follow a lot of SOPs internally. As far as team is concerned, we have a very versatile team. So we have people from very much diverse backgrounds. So we have, let's say, people in our design team जो शायद किसी बहुत बड़े एजुकेशनल इंस्टीट्यूट का हिस्सा नहीं रहे हैं, बट उनका काम बहुत सारे इंटरनेशनल ग्रेड से ज़्यादा अच्छा है दिस कंट्री. लाइक I see, let's say, we have a lot of interns coming to our office at different times, and when they interact with my design team and the kind of knowledge they take back, however, these guys are studying at some of the best art school, but they do not have the practical experience of the world. That's where our design team comes in. So we have very much diversity in age group. We have, let's say, 4 or 5 students working with us, very young, under their 20s. At the same time, we have a couple of very senior people working in our office. Let's say our finance director, or a couple of our design team members who have, like, let's say 15 years of experience or 20 years. So it's a good mix. We also have a lot of culture diversity as well. We have a very, you can say, independent and liberal environment in our office. You can do whatever the hell you want to do at that office, and we make sure that everybody has a space. Let's say the largest space in our office is our girls' room, so we make sure that our girls are relaxed and have a safe space in the office whenever they need it. And we try to keep it very enclosed. I won't say we were always a family environment agency, but we're trying to now change it to become a more like a sports team. So you gotta perform basically, because stakes are becoming very very larger. I'm going through this change कि मुझे कभी कभी ऐसा लगता है कि I'm becoming too harsh with a team member. Then when I look at the flip side of it, I tell my team that you also need to understand my pressure. The competition is getting tough. Gone are the time के पहले हमें कोई 10 करोड़ का भी इवेंट होता था, फ़ोन कॉल पे आता था कि यार हम एक इवेंट कर रहे हैं, आपके साथ करना है. नाउ इट्स 10 लाख का भी बिजनेस है तो मुझे 5 दफ़ा मीटिंग्स में जाना पड़ता है, पिच करना पड़ता है, वो बिज़नेस को विन करना पड़ता है. सो वी जस्ट लाइक we're always on the run of improvement as well. We're keep on trying to change some norms and stuff, and जो भी हम बेस्ट से बेस्ट कर सकते हैं. And as I said, we follow an environment where we give space to our teams. I'm now learning to be as away from my team as possible, spend more time out of the office than inside the office. Now we have a lot of team members who have grown within the team as well. Let's say out of five, three of our departmental heads are the
Other
ones
one, yeah.
who started at a very junior position, and mashallah now they're running the departments and then running the shows as well. So we keep it very simple. No, nothing you can say special around it as well. खाना शाना हम साथ में करते
ये
हैं, पार्टी भी साथ में
मैंने
करते
देखा
हैं.
है कि you know the and I've been and I've seen the team. They and it's incredible because they work under pressure most of the time, but they seem relaxed, which is how probably they can perform, like you mentioned, because if you're constantly under internal pressure, then you can't perform.
बिल्कुल ऐसी है. One thing we do, for example, we have a rule in our office that we don't follow any confidential hierarchies. So for example, we don't have this thing in our office कि ओ ये उस client से बात नहीं करेगा, ये email में
Hmm.
CC नहीं हो सकता, ये इसको उस group में add नहीं करना. We don't have any such shit in our office. Everything is super open. Everybody knows about everything, and one way of it is like everybody feels inclusive and special. At the same time, I feel very proud and happy when a client sends a message to my team member.
Hmm.
You know, my designer is getting a message, a thank you message from a client, or my strategy head is receiving a cake from a client, or कोई हमारी पूरी टीम के लिए खाना भेज रहा है या फूल भेज रहा है, XYZ, any gesture, any good gesture.
Even a simple thank you is.
Hey, if it's a thank you message and six of my team members are tagged, so that's where I feel proud about it as well. And they also reciprocate that respect that they receive. They make sure that they make me proud in front of the client as well. And I think that's a very to be honest, मैं तो कभी इसके ऊपर बहुत ज़्यादा प्लान भी नहीं किया कि वो टीम के साथ ये करना है या ये नहीं करना. It's very good with the flow kind of thing, and it's just doing pretty well. And कभी कभी गलतियां भी होती हैं, तो we try to learn from it as well and make sure कि we don't repeat it.
And I think one thing that I really want to mention here is that in our own capacities, we are trying to build, like some kind of contingency slash legacy that we want to pass on to the team, and we want the team to take over. So sometimes, even in my case, when I speak to, and this is a fairly young team, and you know the challenges of a young team.
I can
We
imagine.
probably have to have another episode on those challenges. But I think what has gotten us to where we are is the fact that we are very open and very transparent, about our struggles, about our pain points, about our aspirations, and also about the fact where we want to see the team. And I think that builds that level of trust. And I've seen your team as well, because when they have that level of trust that you have their best interest at heart, I think that is when they will go out of
100%.
their way and
And
do
I think you
it.
need to groom your team with time as
Absolutely.
well. So we have this culture in our office that any big conference, training, or something is happening, we'll make sure that somebody from our office is part of it, and that person comes back and share that knowledge with other team members as well. So yeah, we do that. चाहे वो कोई HR का बंदा है हमारे ऑफिस में, या फाइनेंस का, या strategy का. So if we see any, let's say, relatable opportunity, we make sure that our team members have a learning outside of the office as well, and we're very keen on that, and really helps us a lot.
So, Hassan, we've spoken a lot about the past and where we're heading, possibly in the right direction. Tell me, what do you feel is the future of event production?
I think there are a lot of possible futures.
Hmm?
One that I see is very long, large, and bright. Because I think so much worse has happened into this part of the world कि अब जो भी होना है वो अच्छा ही होना है, इससे ज़्यादा और क्या ही बुरा हो सकता है. But on a serious note, I feel like कि there's a large future. कुछ उसके interesting factors हैं. Number one, we have a huge chunk of young audience in Pakistan. Now I think the next couple of decades are going to be very very interesting. Okay, your Gen Z is now becoming they're gonna have that sort of purchasing power parity, where they're gonna make their decisions very differently. हम already देख रहे हैं, in fact हम off the camera बात भी कर रहे थे मलिया इसके ऊपर, that the young generation is making their decisions very differently. So
Yeah.
gone are the times के लोग 25 साल पैसे जमा कर रहे हैं एक घर खरीदने के लिए.
Hmm.
Now the young generation is thinking very differently, and I think those differentiation of decision is going to impact on a lot of markets.
Yeah.
It's just going to impact on a lot of buying trends as well, and I think there is going to be a lot of it on event. I think अगर हम events की बात करें तो events हमेशा से हर society में exist करते थे.
Hmm.
Even if आप like पुरानी Greek mythologies देखें
Yeah.
या पुरानी civilizations उठा के देखें, so the any form of a gathering was
Gathering, yeah.
always there, and that's what we call an event in the modern world. So I think the need for an event is never going to change, is always going to
Mm.
increase for sure. So I think yeah, we have a lot of bright future ahead of us, and I think बहुत सारी चीज़ें हमारे यहाँ हुई नहीं है. So I'm really hopeful कि when the time comes that we're hosting an Olympics in Pakistan, we're
Yeah.
hosting some F1s or the
Mm.
couple of global World Cups in Pakistan. That is the future of event. So, for example, English Premier League in England has more profits than maybe our entire country's GDP.
Yeah.
So that's one market. हम बात
Hmm.
करते हैं कि IPL ने जो है वो Indian cricket का future change कर दिया and everything. So when there are going to be new trends, there are going to be new purchasing power parities. It is going to disrupt the industry in various ways. I can never tell the exact future, but I can always tell that it's going to be huge. क्योंकि हम उससे कंपेयर करते हैं कि 20 साल पहले क्या था और अब क्या है.
Hmm.
So obviously in the next 20 years or in the next 50 years, things are going to disrupt further. And I see a lot happening in this country, a lot for sure. And I'm
And
very, very
probably
hopeful
also
for that.
better
I'm
because
sure
we have
100%.
certain best practices also like that we can learn from,
Yes.
right? So I think we probably will be able to do it better than.
Yeah, we're sitting at Synergy's office. I can vouch that the way we see ad films now,
Yeah.
let's say, wo ad films what different hai, or the way we see the print ads or the billboards,
Absolutely.
everything is disrupting. हर चीज़ के अंदर
Yeah.
change आता जा रहा है और हर चीज़ बेहतर से बेहतर की
Hmm.
तरफ जाती जा रही है, disrupt करती चली जा रही है. So I think yeah, it would be interesting to see how much AI intersects with this industry as well.
Yes,
कि
yes.
for example कि हम देखते हैं ऑफिस में let's say कि कभी किसी ने फॉर एग्जाम्पल वी हैव अ लॉट ऑफ पीपल इन आवर ऑफिस जिनका काम जो है वो बहुत ज़्यादा लिखत पढ़त का नहीं है
Hmm.
बट व्हेन दे हैव टू गेट इन्वॉल्व इन दैट सो या दे यूज़ डिफरेंट सॉफ्टवेयर्स एंड
Yeah.
चैट जीपीटीज एंड एवरीथिंग सो उनके पास टूल्स हैं. पहले एक टाइम था कि पहले किसी को किसी से हेल्प चाहिए होती थी तो वो किसी और के पास जाता था, कैन यू प्रूफ रीड माई whatever I have written or something. So I think मुझे नहीं पता शायद 30 साल बाद 50 साल बाद जो है वो कितने सारे ऐसे काम हैं. We already see robots serving food in different restaurants in China and Japan. So yeah, I'm really really hopeful to see that bright future. Some of it in my own lifetime as well, and then some of it maybe later as well.
No, it is definitely a promising future, and we're definitely, looking forward to it. And especially when this Gen Z they come into leadership positions. They'll again redefine events.
Yes.
Because their way of visualizing and execution is very, very different to
100%.
ours.
true.
Great. So, Hasan, I'm now going to introduce you to a very fun segment
Oh yeah.
that I do in my podcast. I've done it with all my friends who've come for the
Nice.
podcast. It's called Mic Drop Moments. This is very similar to a rapid fire round,
Okay.
but my experience with my other guests is that it tends to get very long.
Okay.
So I'm only going to allow the first phrase that comes to your mind,
Okay.
or maybe a couple of words,
Okay.
and that's about it. So
Amazing.
are you ready?
Yeah, I hope so.
Great, here we start. So Hasan, your mic drop moment segment starts now. There is no timer to it. I was
Okay.
just trying to confuse you, but
I hope I
nonetheless.
do justice to it, yeah.
My first question is the most memorable event you've ever produced.
I think I cannot name the event because all the clients are important.
Yeah.
I think we've done a couple of international events.
Hmm.
We felt really really proud when some international people came to us and say, "Oh, great job!" So we feel proud of that.
Excellent. One event in Pakistan you wish you had managed, and you don't have to take names, but you can tell me the type of event. Whether it was a launch or.
I think we haven't worked with PSL yet. As in
Hmm.
like to do the ground ceremonies and stuff. We feel like a lot of improvement can come there.
Okay, lovely. A global event you'd love to put the keys stamp on.
I think personal favorite might be Burning Man.
I was very sure of this answer that you'll actually say this. Anyway, the most underrated role in event management.
I think I would say security people, they do amazing
Hmm.
jobs at making an event secure, but often
Yes.
उनको इतना credit नहीं मिलता है.
Yeah, that's true. Very often overlooked, but
Yeah,
very, very important part.
100%. Very important job they do, making sure everybody's safe there.
And your three rules for event management that you want to tell a startup.
I think the number one would be respect the process. Success doesn't come to you overnight. It has its due course. So don't rush and don't run. Take it easy, one step at a time. I think number two would be you need to have some ethical grounds
Hmm.
because many a times आपको आपके ethics save करते हैं.
Hmm.
Even when you go through the worst
Yeah.
problems. I've personally been through that a lot,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
just because you were super ethical since day one to your client, if the other party is trusting you,
Hmm.
so आपको बहुत सारे different routes लेने की ज़रूरत ही नहीं है. You
Hmm.
just need to be straight and
Yeah.
honest to your
Yeah.
client. I think number three, money would come in eventually. Money would surely come in eventually. If somebody asks me, अगर मैं इनफैक्ट अक्सर यंग लोगों को बोलता हूँ, अगर मुझे 15 साल पहले
ये
ये
पता
पता होता कि मैं
होता.
आज यहाँ बैठा हूँगा, तो शायद मैं बहुत सारे डिसीजंस डिफरेंटली
Hmm.
लेता,
Hmm.
बहुत ज़्यादा स्ट्रेस नहीं लेता, शायद
Hmm.
कुछ कुछ मज़ीद फ़न करता अपनी लाइफ में एज
Hmm.
वेल. सो आई थिंक whatever you do in life, money follows you eventually. You just need to do the right thing with your passion and with your absolute hard work. Yes.
आई थिंक हसन हम दोनों को अगर पता होता कि 15 साल के से पहले कि हम यहाँ होते तो आई थिंक वी वुड हैव डन अ लॉट ऑफ थिंग्स डिफरेंटली
Yes, very differently.
बट ग्लैड टू बी वेयर वी आर एंड
Alhamdulillah.
होपफुली long way to go. Lights fade and stages clear, but what stays on are the stories that these events tell us and stay on in our minds. Thank you once again, Hassan,
Thank
for
you.
showing us that event production and management is way beyond logistics. It's a feeling that stays with your clients possibly forever. Thank you once again for coming to my podcast and giving me this immense honor. It's always a pleasure to have you here, and I'm looking forward to having you again on the show.
Inshallah. Thank you so much. And thank you to all the people behind these camera as well.
Thank you. I want to also say thank you to all of them.
Thank you.